Hey guys, Halina here, and today I'm going to be ranking the WandaVision episodes, so stay tuned. Alright, so last week I reviewed WandaVision as a whole, so I figured this week I would rank the episodes based off of my personal preferences. So yeah, this is in no way an official ranking, it's just based off of my personal preferences. And since I will be talking about things that happened within the episodes, a spoiler warning is in effect. So if you have not seen the show, if you have not caught up on all the episodes, this is your spoiler warning. Spoilers will be discussed for all 9 episodes of WandaVision. So that is your spoiler warning. Okay. Coming in at number 9, I have episode 1, filmed before a live studio audience. Now, theoretically, this should have been my favorite episode. I should have loved this episode because I love classic sitcoms. But not much happened in this episode compared to the other episodes. I do love the setup for the show within this episode. The fact that, Wanda and Vision don't seem to know what's happening. There's this underlying uneasiness. We're kind of, in the Twilight Zone almost. I do like that. I like the fact that Wanda, kind of snaps out of, the sitcom to tell Vision to save his boss and then, cut back to sitcom and act as if nothing happened. But overall, not much happened. It was a setup episode, and therefore it comes in at number 9. Coming in at number 8, though, I have episode 6, All New Halloween Spooktacular. Oh, boy. Okay. Now, I love the classic comic accurate costumes that, Wanda had, Vision had, Pietro had. But honestly, I didn't find myself excited for much that happened within the episode until, the end when, Billy, got sort of his powers and realized that Vision was in trouble and Wanda sort of expanded the hex. Really up until that point, I was just okay, well, this is a fun episode. And typically, usually when shows do, Halloween and, even, Christmas type episodes, that's usually, sort of my least favorite type episodes. So it kind of makes sense that I would have the WandaVision version this low. But yeah, I mean, we only had 3 episodes left by this point, and I kind of wanted more, and we didn't get a whole lot more, and I don't know. It was just, it's at number 8 on my list. At number 7, I have episode 4, We Interrupt This Program. Oh boy. Okay, so I appreciate this episode. I really do. This episode needed to happen. But being pulled out of the sitcoms, especially after episode 3's ending, was just kind of really jarring a little bit. I mean, I wanted more follow-up from episode 3's ending, where Wanda essentially sends Monica flying out of Westview. Like, I wanted more follow-up to that, and instead we got, like, a look back at everything that had happened from a different viewpoint. And I enjoyed that to an extent, but I don't know. It was just like coming off of episode 3's like sort of cliffhanger. I was just like, I don't know. I wanted episode 4, but I didn't want episode 4 where we had it. Like, I don't know. It's weird. But I did love Darcy and Jimmy's dynamic. I think that was one of the many highlights of the episode. But I also loved Jimmy and Monica's dynamic before she got, sent into the Hex. I think the common denominator here is just, like, Jimmy is great with everybody, and seriously, get this man his own show. But, yeah, I think definitely having all the episodes to binge, I like this episode's placement in the lineup more than I did while watching it week to week. And especially, like, having all the context. But definitely while watching episode 4 was just sort of like, okay. Like, wait, what happened? So that's kind of why I have it so low on the list, but I don't know. Yeah. Coming in at number 6, I have episode 3, Now in Color. Oh boy. Okay, so this was a fun episode. It really was. With Wanda's rapid progressing pregnancy. And because of her rapid progressing pregnancy, we got her out of control magic. It was fun. But not much more to say about that until the very end. After the twins are born and Wanda and Monica are talking inside the house, while Vision is talking to Agnes and Herb outside the house, where the episode is really picking up steam, and watching Monica mention Ultron killing Pietro and Wanda just being like, wait, what did you say? Like, and just watching Wanda's, like, whole, like, mood and tone, like, just flip was like, oh, okay, all right, where are we going, okay. But watching that in parallel with Agnes and Herb talking with Vision, and, like, Herb being like, well, Geraldine is here because we're all, and he can't get the words out, and Agnes is like, stop it, like, don't say it. And, like, Vision's, like, just so confused, like, he doesn't know what is happening. It was that ending that was like, okay, I actually really like this episode. Because while the beginning was fun, that's kind of all it was. It was the end that really was like, okay, now we're getting somewhere. Yeah, so the ending really pushed this episode up through the rankings. Yeah. Coming in at number 5, I have episode 2, Don't Touch That Dial. Now, much like episode 3, it really wasn't until the end where I really fell in love with this episode. Where Wanda sees the beekeeper, who we later learn is a sword agent, and says no, and rewinds time. It was like, that was the moment where it was like, okay, we're starting to realize what is going on. Like, we're realizing that Wanda is in control, at least to some degree. And it's like all the pieces are coming together now, and it's like, finally, we're getting answers. Now, the reason Don't Touch That Dial beats out Now in Color is because I enjoyed a lot more of the beats from this episode, like Drunk Vision and the creepiness of For the Children, which I am 100% convinced was not for Wanda to have children, but it was for the townspeople to, have their children be freed from their room. And Wanda using her real magic to make everything, like, seem fake. That was a lot of fun. So I enjoyed a lot more of the beats from episode 2 than I did with episode 3. So episode 2 beat out episode 3 by a hair. Yeah. At number 4, I have episode 7, Breaking the Fourth Wall. Now, I really enjoyed parts of this episode. Basically, everything from Monica entering the Hex and gaining her powers to the end of the episode. That is truly everything that I loved. I loved everything. Like, everything in that block. Just her confrontation with Wanda and, like, Agnes bringing Wanda back to her house and things getting really creepy, like, really seriously creepy. And then, like, the Agatha reveal and, Agatha all along, and seriously, that song is still stuck in my head. Yeah. The Agatha All Along song is, like, seriously the best way to deliver exposition. We got the whole, like, Agatha was manipulating everything, and we didn't get her telling us, like, through monologue. We got her telling us through song and montage, and I'm like, you know what? Thank you. I appreciate that. But the beginning and the middle were good. The ending was great, but the beginning and the middle were good. With Wanda's world crumbling around her and everything sort of shifting. Like, everything's shifting between the time periods and everything. The only thing that I just felt really didn't measure up was Vision and Darcy scenes. Like, I mean, sure, they were fun, but compared to everything else, it was just, it fell flat. It really did. I don't know. It was just my least favorite part of the episode. At number 3, we're in the top 3 now, guys. Okay, so at number 3, I have episode 8, Previously On. Oh boy. Okay, so much like episode 4, this was exposition episode. Like, but it provided insight into Wanda's history, as well as how the Hex actually started. So I feel like we learned new information, which is more than I can say for episode 4. So there's that. Like, but one of the reasons why I have this episode so high is because I really loved the dynamic between Kathryn Hahn and Elizabeth Olsen, and this episode was just the two of them just acting opposite each other, and that was just something that I personally really, really enjoyed. And yeah, it made this whole episode that much more enjoyable for me personally. Like, I know a lot of people had issues with this episode, but for me, Kathryn Hahn and Elizabeth Olsen acting opposite each other was definitely a highlight for me. And so, therefore, this episode rose through the ranks for me. But also, my absolute favorite part of maybe, honestly, a good chunk of the whole show has to be the moment at the end when Agatha's full witch costume is revealed as she's out in the streets, kind of choking out the boys. Yeah, not necessarily my favorite part with that, but she delivers the iconic news to Wanda.
I know what you are. You have no idea how dangerous you are. You're supposed to be a myth, a being capable of spontaneous creation. Here you are, using it to make breakfast for dinner.
Let go of my children.
Oh yes, your children. Vision, this whole little life you've made. This is chaos magic, Wanda. And that makes you the Scarlet Witch.
Yeah, so I love that the Scarlet Witch was basically being foretold for centuries. Like, she was in the dark hole. Like she was being foretold for centuries. Like, Agatha knew who Wanda was while going through this whole Christmas Carol type journey with her. It was like, I figured out who you are. And you're supposed to be a myth. Like, I don't even know how you're existing, but here you are, and you're dangerous, and you have no idea how dangerous you actually are. And it's like, I love this. So, yeah, I mean, I love Previously On. But not enough for it to be in the top 2. So, yeah. Coming in at number 2, though, I have episode 9, the series finale. I went back and forth whether or not to put the series finale at number 1 because I really, really did enjoy it. But I put it at number 2. We had a lot of battles. We had Vision versus Vision, which was solved with intellect. I love that. I really do. I think that was the best way to solve the Vision versus Vision thing. Like, you know, just, yes, please. Then we had Billy and Tommy and Monica versus Hayward and Sword. I love that Monica was like literally like, I don't know what my powers are. I'm not even sure she was fully aware that she even really fully had powers. Like, it's kind of unclear, but she like literally jumped in front of the bullets to save these kids that aren't even real. Like, but that's just who she is. And I'm like, Monica, I love you. I love you. You are like the best human ever. Like, but she's like, I'm gonna save these kids because Hayward is crazy and I'm gonna save these kids. So she like jumps in front of the bullets and she like saves them, and then it's like, Monica, you are my hero. I love you. Yeah, and then the big battle. Agatha versus Wanda. Witch versus witch. Seriously, this had to be my favorite battle of the whole thing, though, because both of these women are strong in very different ways. Agatha has been studying magic for centuries. Like, and Wanda is just inherently strong. Like, she literally says, no one taught me magic. But it's like, it just comes naturally to her. And it's like, these two very, very powerful witches battling it out is like, I love it. But I love that Wanda was making Agatha believe that she was giving up her powers, basically like sending it all to her and then missing every once in a while. And like the first time I was watching it, I was like, okay, why is she missing? And then I'm like, okay, maybe she's just like getting weaker, like she's getting tired or whatever. Like, and then you realize, no, she's deliberately missing because she's throwing the runes up on the hex walls. And it's like, she learned about runes like 10 minutes ago. Like, it's unreal. And it's like, oh, I love it so much. Okay, I love it. But we got the reveal of the Scarlet Witch costume. And I have to say, I love it. I truly love this costume reveal. A+. Now, I know I said in my review that I was not going to let Evan Peters as Ralph Boner go. I was not going to let that go. But, you know, I went diving into interviews and hearing that it was a way of showing that grief has a way of messing with your mind. I will let it go. Slightly. Yeah, I mean, the finale delivered action and emotion, and it managed to wrap up WandaVision plots and set up the future of the MCU at the same time. It was a great finale, don't get me wrong, but I feel like on some level they tried to cram too much into a short amount of time, and it kind of felt rushed in a way. Like, I don't know. Like, to me, I don't know. It felt rushed a little bit. I still loved it, but not enough to make it my favorite episode. I don't know. But my favorite episode, coming in at number 1, episode 5, on a very special episode. Okay. So, this is the first episode where we have to balance telling the sitcom story as well as the sword story. I think they found a good way to balance it, though. I really do. The dynamic between Darcy and Jimmy and Monica is great. Like, I really loved the Darcy-Jimmy dynamic before, and then adding Monica into the mix, I'm like, you know what? This trio is great. Like, I really wish we got to see more of them together, because I feel like we got quite a bit of them together, but eventually they sort of branched out into their separate directions, and it's like, but we could have kept them together, and I really wish that we did. Wanda breaking out of the hex and having the guards turn their guns on Hayward was probably one of the greatest things ever. Like, when she's literally just like, and all the guards just turn their guns on him, and it's like, okay, so she does not like him, and we later learn why in Previously On. It's like, yeah, because, like, he was literally like, yeah, Vision's not yours to take, and it's like, dude, you horrible. But, yeah, I mean, it's great, it's perfect. Then we have Agnes. Yes, Agnes acting super suspicious. Like, I can't believe I didn't jump back on board this train. But she's like, she asks, like, should I take it from the top? Like, because you want me to hold the twins. So we're just gonna take it from the top. And it's like, she's not phased by the twins aging. And I'm like, okay, so she's aware. Like, she knows what's happening. But I was like, I'm not jumping back on board the she's Agatha Harkness train. And I really should have jumped back on board that train. I really should have. But I didn't. Episode 3. Episode 3 was when I jumped off and I never jumped back on. And I really should have. But it's what happens at Vision's job that really set the stage for this being probably my favorite episode. Because we get the outside world creeping in through the emails. Like, Darcy's email creeps in about the Westview anomaly type thing. And Vision's like, okay, like, what is going on? So he wakes up his friend Norm by, like, tapping his head type thing. And Asif Ali, I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, because he is absolutely a brilliant actor. Seriously. He went from, like, quirky, confused about how computers work sitcom character to terrified and upset Abhilash Tandon, who needs to check in with his sister about his father. Like, that scene broke me. Like, he's like, I have to check in with my sister, like, she's taking care of my father, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's like, oh my gosh, it's so heartbreaking. And then when, like, Vision's just like, okay, no, this is too much, like, he's like, he's talking about how, like, she's in my head, make her stop, like, and then Vision's like, okay, no, okay, and puts him back under, and he's like, so yeah, how's the computers thing, right? And it's like, the way he's able to just, like, flip is like, oh my gosh, he's such an amazing actor. Seriously, I love it. But, oh my gosh. But it literally is the domino effect from that point, because we get, Vision coming home to Wanda, and we get Paul Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen delivering phenomenal performances as Vision's confronting Wanda, like, I know what you're doing. Like, I woke up Norm today, and he told me that, like, you're basically behind all this. And she's like, no, I'm not. Like, and he's like, what is outside of Westview? Like, and they're, like, basically, like, fighting with each other, and it's like, what happened to the happy couple? And they're, like, fighting with each other, and it's like, it's so heartbreaking to see, but it's like, oh, I love it. Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany delivered, and it was like, I love it. This episode was amazing. But even though he turned out to be only Ralph Boner, we did get Evan Peters show up at the end, so I do gotta love it. Yeah, so episode 5 was my favorite episode of the show. I think because they did a good job of balancing the sword plot line and the sitcom plot line. We got a lot of fantastic acting from, like, everybody around, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. Yeah, so that was my ranking of WandaVision episodes. Seriously, that was really difficult to do. Like, it was really hard to rank them because I loved all of them for their own reasons, and looking back at all of them, I'm like, okay, I can see where all of them served their purpose. Like, even, like, episode 1 where not much happened, it's like, I can see where episode 1 was necessary. And I shifted the order, like, seriously, at least, like, 10 times. Like, I'm like, no, I gotta move this one, no. And I did that, like, 10 times before I literally just was like, no, this is the order I'm sticking with. Like I said, this just my personal preferences. But I really am curious to hear what everyone else's ranking is. So let me know what your ranking is in the comments down below. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, click the notification bell so you be notified when I upload my latest videos. You can check out my WandaVision review by clicking here. You can check out more Marvel content by clicking here. You can check out more ranking videos by clicking here. Follow all my socials, the link is in the description down below. And I will see you all in another video. Bye, guys.